London is currently the epicenter of what is being described by palace insiders as the single most explosive institutional crisis the British monarchy has faced since the unprecedented abdication of King Edward VIII in 1936. We are not just talking about another family disagreement or a temporary rift between brothers. We are witnessing the real-time financial and reputational collapse of Prince Harry, coupled with a constitutional shockwave that threatens to tear the House of Windsor apart from the inside out. Tonight, the Duke of Sussex has reportedly hit absolute financial rock bottom following a crushing, humiliating defeat in his high-stakes High Court privacy lawsuit against Associated Newspapers. For years, Harry has waged a relentless, incredibly expensive crusade against the British press. He bet everything on this legal battle, pouring unimaginable resources, time, and his own public credibility into proving that he was the victim of unlawful information gathering. But the gavel has fallen, and the judge's ruling was nothing short of brutal. In a devastating blow that legal experts are calling a complete catastrophe for the Duke, the judge systematically dismantled his case, throwing out a staggering 97 of his claims. This was not a minor setback. It was a total judicial rejection of almost the entirety of his narrative. The court found his arguments lacking, his evidence insufficient, and his timeline deeply flawed. And the consequence of this massive legal miscalculation is not just bruised pride. Prince Harry is now staring down the barrel of an insurmountable £10 million legal debt, which translates to anywhere between 13 and 18 million US dollars. This is a staggering sum of money that threatens to completely wipe out his remaining independent wealth. Let's put this into perspective. Since stepping down as a senior working royal and relocating to the extremely expensive enclave of Montecito, California, Harry and Meghan have relied on highly lucrative but finite entertainment deals to fund their lavish lifestyle, their massive mortgage, and their around-the-clock private security. But with deals drying up and their brand taking hit after hit, a sudden $18 million liability is a fatal blow. Sources close to the Sussexes indicate a state of sheer panic, as liquidating assets might be the only way to satisfy this monumental court-ordered debt. The sheer scale of this financial disaster cannot be overstated. He went to war with the British press hoping for a decisive victory, and instead, he has been handed a bill that could literally bankrupt him. But the real shockwave shaking the ancient walls of Buckingham Palace tonight is not just the sudden and spectacular reality of Harry's impending bankruptcy. It is what happened next. In the desperate hours following the court's devastating ruling, a highly sensitive, deeply confidential internal palace document was leaked to the press, exposing an operation so controversial that it threatens to permanently destabilize the reign of King Charles. The document outlines a covert operation dubbed Project Thaw. This was not merely a contingency plan, it was a fully detailed secret blueprint orchestrated by King Charles himself to covertly bypass the British legal system, wipe away his youngest son's massive debts, and orchestrate his return to the royal fold. The details of Project Thaw are deeply alarming to anyone who understands the precarious balance of the monarchy's funding. According to the leaked memos, the king was exploring mechanisms to secretly funnel public sovereign grant funds, taxpayer money meant for the official duties of the monarch and the upkeep of royal palaces, to bail Harry out of his £10 million black hole. This is an explosive revelation. Using public funds to settle the private, self-inflicted legal debts of a non-working royal who voluntarily abandoned his duties and has spent the last 4 years publicly trashing the institution is a move that could trigger a full-blown constitutional crisis. But the king's plan went even further than a secret financial bailout. Project Thaw detailed a highly orchestrated, phased strategy to transition Prince Harry back into a senior working royal by Christmas this year. It envisioned a carefully managed public relations campaign, a gradual reintroduction into public life, and a restoration of his former status, all funded and protected by the very institution he has so bitterly attacked. This was meant to be the ultimate royal rehabilitation, a desperate attempt by a grieving, conflicted father to rescue his prodigal son from total ruin and bring him back under the protective umbrella of the crown. King Charles has reportedly been agonizing over Harry's downward spiral for months. Those close to the monarch say he is torn between his role as the sovereign, duty-bound to protect the crown, and his profound, enduring love for a son who seems entirely incapable of protecting himself. The king reportedly viewed this financial ruin not as a moment for tough love, but as a dire emergency requiring immediate, unilateral intervention. He believed that if Harry were left to face complete financial destruction in the United States, the resulting desperation could lead to even more damaging tell-all books, more destructive television interviews, and a further unraveling of the royal family's deeply guarded secrets. Therefore, Project Thaw was born out of fear just as much as it was born out of paternal affection. The sovereign grant aspect, however, is what makes this leaked document so extraordinarily toxic. The British public is already grappling with an intense cost of living crisis, and the mere suggestion that their tax pounds might be secretly diverted to rescue a non-working royal from the consequences of his own lawsuits has sparked absolute outrage. But as explosive as the public reaction is proving to be, it is absolutely nothing compared to the apocalyptic fury that Project Thaw has ignited inside the palace walls, setting the stage for a confrontation that has fractured the royal family beyond any hope of repair. As I mentioned just moments ago, the exposure of Project Thaw didn't just cause a public relations nightmare, it triggered a catastrophic internal explosion. For months, King Charles's inner circle had been quietly operating this clandestine initiative, working entirely in the shadows to protect this desperate attempt by a grieving father to bring his youngest son back into the royal fold. But secrets of this magnitude simply cannot stay buried forever within an institution that leaks like a sieve, especially when they involve taxpayer funds and the future structure of the working family. Upon discovering his father's secret financial blueprint to bail Harry out of his staggering £10 million legal ruin, Prince William allegedly went into a state of absolute, unmitigated fury. Sources close to the Prince of Wales describe a scene of unprecedented anger, a moment where the dutiful heir completely shattered the polite veneer of royal protocol. William did not just express disappointment or brotherly frustration, he saw this as a direct existential threat to the very survival of the monarchy he is destined to inherit. According to highly placed palace insiders, William has delivered an unprecedented, terrifying ultimatum directly to King Charles. The words he reportedly used are chilling in their absolute finality. He told his father, in no uncertain terms, that if Harry sets foot in Buckingham Palace as a working royal again, he will permanently renounce his right to the throne, step down as the Prince of Wales, and take his family out of the United Kingdom forever. Let the gravity of those words really sink in for a moment. The future King of England, a man who has dedicated his entire adult life to duty, public service, and the preservation of the crown, is literally willing to walk away from it all. He is willing to trigger a constitutional crisis that would easily dwarf the 1936 abdication of Edward VIII, all to prevent his brother from returning to a position of power and privilege. This is not just a bitter sibling rivalry anymore. This is a ruthless battle for the soul and the future credibility of the British monarchy. William reportedly views his father's leniency not just as an unforgivable display of parental weakness, but as an institutional betrayal of the highest order. For years, William and his wife Catherine have borne the brunt of Harry and Meghan's relentless public attacks. They have endured the Oprah Winfrey interview, the 6-part Netflix documentary series, and the deeply personal, explosive allegations scattered throughout Harry's memoir, Spare. Throughout it all, the Prince and Princess of Wales have maintained a stoic, dignified silence in the face of what they consider to be massive, deeply unfair provocations. To now discover that the king was secretly plotting to reward this destructive behavior by using public funds to wipe away Harry's self-inflicted legal debts is a bridge too far for the heir to the throne. William firmly believes that bailing Harry out effectively makes the British monarchy look completely complicit in his constant public attacks against the state. It sends a disastrous message to the public and the world that you can trash the institution, attack your own family, sue the government, and still get rescued by the taxpayer when your grandiose plans go up in smoke. William has drawn an absolute, immovable line in the sand. He is demanding strict accountability, and he is forcefully backing his father into a corner, making the king choose between indulging his wayward son and securing the future of the crown itself. This sheer animosity, this toxic anger boiling behind closed doors, violently manifested into public reality just 48 hours ago. With the walls closing in on his finances and the highly sensitive details of Project Thaw hanging in the balance, Prince Harry made a sudden, desperate move. In a frantic bid to bypass the palace aides and negotiate the terms of his secret bailout directly face-to-face with his father, Prince Harry flew into London on an unannounced emergency flight. It was a high-stakes gamble, a literal Hail Mary pass from a man who had suddenly realized he was standing on the absolute edge of a financial abyss. Hoping to seek refuge under his father's roof and project an image of royal reconciliation to the watching media, Harry formally requested accommodation at Buckingham Palace. In his mind, he was still the king's son, still entitled to the immense privileges, the luxury, and the heavy security of royal residences. But what happened next was a humiliating, brutal reality check that has shocked royal watchers and commentators worldwide. In a stunning move that demonstrates exactly who is now wielding the real, hard power behind the throne, Prince William personally intervened. Acting on William's explicit, non-negotiable orders, palace security allegedly stonewalled the Duke of Sussex. Instead of open iron gates and a warm royal welcome, Harry was coldly informed by staff that it was simply too late to arrange staff and that absolutely no rooms were available for him. Let's be incredibly clear about what this actually means. Buckingham Palace is a massive, sprawling fortress with exactly 775 rooms. The idea that there was not a single bed available, or that basic domestic staff could not be rustled up for the king's own son, is an intentional, highly calculated insult. It was a slammed door echoing loudly across London. For the very first time in modern royal history, a son of the reigning monarch was forced to load his luggage back into a vehicle and book a room at a standard commercial hotel in central London. He was left utterly exposed, surrounded only by his privately funded security team, while his own family's palatial residence sat completely empty, dark, and securely locked against him just blocks away. Sitting in that standard commercial hotel room, staring at the walls of a city he once ruled, broken financially and entirely rejected by his own flesh and blood, Prince Harry has reportedly snapped. The total humiliation of being locked out of Buckingham Palace by his older brother, combined with the crushing reality of an $18 million legal debt, pushed the Duke of Sussex over the absolute edge. He realized in that agonizing night that there would be no secret bailout, no Project Thaw, and no warm royal welcome. With his back firmly against the wall, he abandoned every single protocol he was raised to respect. In a move of staggering recklessness, Prince Harry broke the absolute cardinal rule of royal neutrality and released an unvetted, deeply emotionally charged statement that directly attacks the very core of the British establishment. For centuries, the royal family has survived by remaining strictly apolitical, never commenting on judicial decisions, and never attacking the institutions of the state. But Harry, furious and desperate over his monumental legal loss, threw that ancient playbook directly into the fire. In his blistering public release, Harry crossed a line that cannot ever be uncrossed. He publicly and aggressively claimed that the High Court's ruling against him was a complete, rigged, and obvious whitewash. This is not just a disgruntled litigant complaining about a bad day in court. This is a blood prince of the realm publicly declaring that the British justice system is entirely corrupt. He heavily and deliberately implied that his own father's courts and the British media apparatus are actively, maliciously working together in a grand conspiracy to intentionally destroy him. By asserting that the legal system is rigged, Harry is essentially accusing King Charles's own government of extreme corruption, pointing a finger at the sovereign's judges and declaring them compromised. This unprecedented public assault on the judiciary has sent shockwaves through Westminster and the legal community. Even those who have historically sympathized with Harry's trauma are recoiling in absolute horror at this outburst. You can criticize the press, you can criticize your family, but you simply do not attack the fundamental integrity of the British courts. By declaring the High Court a rigged institution, he has deeply, perhaps permanently, alienated his very last remaining allies in the United Kingdom. The few advisors and public figures who still harbored hopes of a reconciliation have abandoned ship, viewing this statement as a deeply unhinged, treasonous attack on the crown itself. He has isolated himself on an island of his own making, and the mainland is rapidly preparing its final retaliation. The backlash from the British government has been swift, furious, and legally binding. Parliamentarians are taking concrete historical action. Right now, across the floors of the House of Commons, lawmakers are openly and aggressively discussing a parliamentary bill designed to permanently strip Harry and Meghan of their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles. What was once considered an extreme fringe idea is now actively being drafted. Members of Parliament are arguing that an individual who openly attacks the integrity of the King's courts, who implies the state is corrupt, and who demands taxpayer bailouts while offering nothing but scorn in return, cannot be permitted to carry one of the highest noble titles in the land. The removal of these titles would completely obliterate their international brand, leaving them entirely defenseless against their looming financial ruin. Prince Harry is now facing a perfect, catastrophic storm of his own creation. He is buried under a mountain of crushing debt, barred from his family's homes by a brother who is willing to abdicate rather than forgive him, and facing the very real prospect of being legally stripped of his royal identity. The downfall of the once beloved prince has reached its absolute climax. Now, I want to hear exactly what you think about this explosive situation. Was Prince William right to issue that terrifying ultimatum to King Charles and lock Harry out of the palace? Or was the king justified in secretly trying to bail his desperate son out of total financial ruin? Drop your thoughts, theories, and opinions down in the comments section below. If you found this breakdown insightful and want to stay completely up to date on all the breaking news, insider leaks, and royal drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Give this video a like to support the channel. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss an update, and I will see you all in the very next video.